Welcome back everybody to Ottawa Valley Vintage Motorcycles. Today we're going to take this ZX6R and we're going to do a valve adjustment on it. So it's kind of an in-depth job, so it's not for the faint at heart. We got to really dive down deep. We have to actually pull the cams right out. It's a pretty big job. It's going to take a while to do. So stay with me. We're going to get this bike on the hoist. We'll get the other one off the hoist and we'll get at her. Okay, we got the Ninja up on the hoist here. We're getting ready to do a valve adjustment, and like I said earlier, this is not an easy job. There's quite a few specs involved, adjustments to make, measurements to make. So if you're not comfortable with that sort of thing, I suggest you get this done at a dealership. But we're going to do this here today. These are an example of some of the tools you're going to need: ratchet, Phillips screwdriver, in case you got to cut any tie wraps. Good set of feeler gauges. I got some spark plugs. I'm going to change the spark plugs while I'm at it. Valve cover gasket. Going to need a good torque wrench. Caliper, micrometer. This is a nice shim kit here. Just open it up. All the different shims, but you never really trust them. So you have to mic them out to make sure you got the right sizes that you need. Little magnifying glass in here so you can read what's on them. Handy to have. You're going to need an assortment of different seals. I did up this little spec sheet. I'll go through that with you guys later. So I made this sheet up so I can take all my calculations. Like I said, we'll go through that shortly. So stay tuned, and we'll get the fuel tank off, the airbox off, and we'll dive right in. My previous video, I just changed this this nice Pirelli Supercorsa Diablo. It's a SPV4, and I have one for the front too. But I didn't have the right size bolt for this. Like I usually use this one because it's a 22 millimeter, but on this particular bike, it doesn't fit in. So I had to order a new. I could have cut that off, but I didn't want to use the use of the other ones because I needed to be able to get on that with a ratchet. So I just ordered up a 22 mil. It should be in tomorrow, and I'll be able to get this tire off and get another Pirelli Diablo on that one. So we're going to go right ahead and dive into the motor. We had to send the shift assist back to the company because it was malfunctioning. So I sent it to them. I did an online tech with them, and we lost connection between the quick shifter and the computer. So they told me to pack it up and send it to them, and they're going to send me a new one. So that's going to probably take a couple of weeks. So in the meantime, we're going to dive into these valve adjustments. Okay, so first just remove these two bolts here. Holds the steering damper on. You just swing the steering damper up out of the way. So now you got the front part of the fuel tank ready to lift up. I've already removed the bolts for the seat. Take the seat out of there. You can probably leave the rear cowling on for now. You see I got a lot of electronics going on here for the rapid bike system, so I just kind of have everything loose and out of the way right now because I had to remove that quick shifter. So I had to pretty much unclip everything and disconnect most of the items to send that back. So anyhow, just remove this bolt here, and then we can what we're going to do is before we remove the bolt, we'll tilt the fuel tank back and we'll support it so we can undo the fuel line, and then we'll unbolt it and then just lift it out of there. So I just got the tank propped up like that for now, and we'll pull out these two vent lines. This one here, so when I lift the tank it'll come out freely, and this one here. We don't want anything hooking up on it when we're trying to lift it out. Okay, now we're going to have to disconnect the fuel line and the fuel pump. So here's the fuel line. We'll just have to take that clip off. Be very careful with these little red clips. I've mentioned it in a few other videos. They break real easy, so watch you don't break them. And this is your electronic fuel pump here. So just follow that back and we'll disconnect it. I believe it's this one here. So let's make sure that that vent is clear. It's not tied to anything. It's not. Okay. Good. So it's just a matter of unhooking that fuel pump and the fuel line and we're good to go. So I recommend just taking a rag and putting it underneath this fuel line, because you will get a couple of drips, or you usually do. Just put something there like that just to help grab the fuel so it's not pouring all over the floor. There shouldn't be a lot coming out, but there may be a little bit in the line. So for the fuel pump, just to confirm, grab this guy here and give it a little wiggle and you will see it, which connector starts to move. So it's obviously this one here. So we'll unhook that. So you just lift up on this little clip here and pull it out. So that's your fuel pump. So now we're going to feed that back down. So when I lift the tank, the wiring will come with it. There we go. So now it's just a matter of undoing that bolt, and we should be able to lift the tank up once we unclip the fuel line. So the way these work is, see it's got like a little finger here and a little finger there. You gotta kind of spread them apart and then pull down on it. Like that. I didn't break it. Now that's just a quick release now, so that can just pop off and she's free. So I didn't lose much fuel. A couple little drips there. Caught by the rag. So over on the left side of the bike, that's the bolt for the fuel tank. So it's just a 10mm ratchet. We'll pull that out of there. So just remove that 10mm bolt. Now, before you lift the fuel tank off, it may drip a little fuel, so have a place prepared to put it, maybe with a rag or something, because you may get a drip or two out of it. Okay, so everything's free and clear to come out. There, I've got the tank supported with this slightly up in the air so it doesn't leak, and there's not much fuel in it to begin with, so I'll just leave it there for now. And we got a little bit of fuel that came out, but not much. Okay, so now we're gonna take off this airbox cover, and then we're gonna remove the whole airbox and start diving down to get to the valve covers. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a little plastic baggie. I'm going to put that fuel line down inside it and just zip tie it close so it keeps the thing from leaking and smelling. Okay, so I got that tied off there now. Now if it wants to leak fuel in the bag, it can leak fuel in the bag. Okay, so I'm going to take off these two hoses here, this one and this one, and drop those down out of the way. And then we'll get a screwdriver in here, pull off that Phillips screwdriver, and then all the way around we'll get all the Phillips screwdrivers heads out. These come off relatively easy. Down out of my way. And down out of my way. And there's a light grip here, and just pry it down. There we go. That one off. And same with this one. There we go. Put this right out of my way. Good. Now we'll get a Phillips. We'll start taking those off. Okay, I like to start with the center screw. That one's out. Now we'll just go around and get the rest of them. Okay, so we got all our bolts out. So I'll just unclip this, put it off to one side, and we should be able to just lift this over and leave it here without having to take all this stuff off. Now I didn't get that screw out that was in here, so I'm going to push up from underneath. I'm going to shake it out of my hand, and there it is. Put that wire out of the way. So we're going to try to just keep that like this for this job, and pull off all the bottom stuff. That way I won't have to take all this stuff off. I should be able to do what I have to do without having to take that completely off. I am going to snip this little tie wrap though. Take a little pressure off the wires. There we go. And there's a new K&N that I put in. It's looking good. Still got the oil on it. Nice. Looking good. No dirt, no debris. Love it. Okay. So another 10mm up here. This holds the bottom part of the airbox down. I guess we can just leave that there. That's pretty good. So now we're going to take off this cover. So in order to do that, there's a little secret window here. So I take a flat screwdriver and very carefully put it underneath and pop it off. Like so. Now I have access to get my Allen key in there. So this is tricky. You need a long Allen key, 3mm, and gently feed it through the bolt that's hiding at the back and loosen it off. So this is loosening off both of these both of these on this side, and then the other one loosens off these two. So I'll go around and loosen that one off. Same deal. Sides in a little deeper. There we go. Don't need to take it all the way off, just loosen it up. Now I should be able to get this top part of the box off of those throttle bodies. There we go. I believe there's a hose that's underneath on this side. We'll have to get that off as well. I don't know if you'll be able to see it. I may have to come around the other side, but right here. It's coming. There we go. There she is. The hose is really on there. Okay. So now we've got to start taking these electronics off. Spark plug leads, the little coil right on top of the spark plug leads. I have to unhook all this stuff so we can get access to the valve cover. Okay, so next up, we're going to take these reed valve covers off here and here, here and here. Start to get that out. Okay, so before I go any farther, I'm just going to cover this up because I don't want anything falling down inside. So I'll just put that there like that because I'm going to start removing bolts from here that I've unscrewed. I don't want them falling down inside the motor. Okay, so I got the bolts removed. So now I'm going to wiggle this up out of the way like this. And those are the little reed valves. Looks like it could use to be cleaned up a little bit. Alright, so next we're going to take these coils. The coils on this bike are right on top of the spark plugs, like the spark plug is directly to the coils. So we'll pop these wires off, and it's got like a little O-ring here. So we'll pry that up out of the way, and then we'll keep going. So before I disconnect these, I just want to make note that when I unclip them, this is the first one, the second one, the third one, and the fourth one. So I won't be able to mix up the wires. Number one, number two, number three, number four. Now those are up out of the way. Now we'll pull these out. So I'm going to get a little pry bar to pop these off. I like to try to turn them first, just to break the seal, and then we'll gently pop that up. Just gently pop them up. You can see the grease that I put on the last time when I did the spark plugs, dielectric grease. Doesn't seem to be leaking, that's good. So I'm going to keep these in order. So that's number 4. This one's number 3. This is the one we had a little oil on it. I remember the last time. Still a little bit of oil. No more than it was before though. That's good. So that's number 3. Being real careful here, I don't want to break this. This is number 2. Looks pretty good. Now number 1. Okay, so it's only number 3 that had a little bit of oil. So when we pull out the valve cover, we're gonna have a look at that seal that's underneath there and see if we can determine what's going on. It's not bad, but it is a little bit of oil. So just give you a peek down inside. You can see the spark plugs. That's the oily one. You see, it's not too bad, just a little bit. There's number 1, looking good. Okay, so we're going to remove these spark plugs, and then we're going to take off this hose and then undo the valve cover bolts, and that should lift off. I'm going to see if I can get away without taking the throttle bodies off. But if it starts to be too tight of a space, I might have to take the throttle bodies off. We'll see. Here we go. And we'll just take that off. There we go. Okay, so now I'm going to remove these spark plugs. I'm very curious to see what kind of condition they're in. This is number 4. Nice. Very nice. Still wet. Fuel, obviously. Nice color. So with the new system I put in, I richened up the mixture quite a bit. Last time they were running a little bit lean, but not terrible, but definitely a lot running better now. So this is the one that was leaking a little oil. Just trying to determine if it's fuel on there or oil. Looks like just fuel. A little bit of oil blow by up here though. Yeah, definitely got a texture to it. This is number 2. Doesn't look too bad. And number 1. I just changed these not too long ago, so they're coming out pretty easy. They're not cooked in there. But spark plugs are relatively cheap, so while we're here we might as well change them. Yeah, no bad signs. Nice and brown color. Okay, so now we'll take off these valve cover bolts. Just crack them first. You can hear the rubber seal, the O-ring underneath there. Sounds pretty dry, which I think might be the cause of that leak. Okay, so I'm going to pull up these little seals because I don't want them falling into the motor or falling loose around anywhere. So notice the big part of the lip goes down. So I'll have to take note of that. I'm going to replace all these. Brand new ones. Okay, I just noticed, I hope I'm wrong, it almost looks like antifreeze. Does that look green to you? I'll get a white cloth and see. Hopefully that's not antifreeze. Okay, so I have everything unbolted. I'm just gonna grab it by this and see if I can pull this off. There we go. Seems to be coming away. I'll set the camera down and I'll try to pull that up. So I got it almost off. I seem to be hanging up on the clutch cable. So I'm gonna have to disconnect the clutch cable and hold it out of the way. But I think I can get this off without taking the throttle bodies out, which is good. Screw this all the way in. See that little slot there? There's another slot down here. So we'll be able to take the cable out and it'll free it up and get it out of our way. Okay, so I got this rag on this bar so I won't scratch anything. And I'm just gonna take the pressure off and I'll be able to get that cable out right there. There we go. So that loosened it off up here. So now I'll be able to get the cable off here, pull it out of here, and that'll give me enough slack to get this out of the way. See if I can get you to see this. Turn that there like that. Now I should be able to get that cable out. Doing this with one hand. Okay, so I pulled that clutch cover or clutch cable down out of the way. So that frees it up quite a bit. I think I should be able to get it out now. She's still in there pretty tight. Here we go. Come on, baby. There she is. So 1, 2, 3. So this is the one that was leaking. So I suspect it's this one right here. And I am seeing a defect in the seal right there. So that is the problem. That's where it was leaking from, right there. So there's 1, 2, 3. This is the one that's leaking, was leaking. You see how it's got a little bit of a nick right there? That's where the oil was coming through. So overall in really good condition. No damage, no wear, no burn marks, anything like that. A little dirty on this side, of course. I'm going to put this in my ultrasonic tank and clean up all the carbon residue. And although it looks a little green, it is just oil. You can feel it. It's got an oil smell to it. It's got an oil texture to it. So we can see our cams, our cam lobes. I won't know for certain until I start rolling the engine over, but in first inspection, it doesn't look too bad. I'm going to put it at top dead center and start taking my my measurements. Yeah, I'm hoping that's oil and not antifreeze. Looks awfully green. I'm going to try to get a little sample. No, it's just oil. It looks awfully green under this ultraviolet light, but it's just oil. Okay, so we're going to need to be able to rotate this engine over so we can get the camshaft in the right position. So in order to do that, there's these two little covers right here. Just pull those off. This one's like a sight glass. It's got a little O-ring on it. Well, they both do. Just gonna grab that so I don't lose it. Just to keep it from leaking. So now, if we get in here with a socket, you can turn the motor over, like so. So we make sure we get the cams in the right position. We want number one cylinder has to be at the end of top dead center. And then we'll do a certain amount of valves in that position. And then number 4 piston has got to be at top dead center. And then we'll check a few other remaining valves in that position. I'll go through that with you in a minute. So there's actually a timing mark in here. So the cams rotate and the cranks rotate on a chain, or there's a chain that comes off of the crankshaft and it goes up. It goes around both cams. So it takes 2 revolutions of the crankshaft to make 1 full revolution of the camshafts. So I'm going to try to rotate this so you can see the timing mark. It's going to be very difficult to show this on camera, but we'll see what we can do here. So rotating it the same way the motor would run. See the timing mark right there? Let's see if I can show you that. See the line in there? So that's what we want. that line to line up right there. And then we'll look at the cams, see what position they're, if that's top dead center for number 4 cylinder or if it's for number 1 cylinder. So the cams, they have to be pointing outward. So that's pointing inward on number 4. So it must be number 1. See if I can get a better angle on this for you. Okay, so I just moved around to the other side of the bike. So the front of the bike is that way. So this is number 1 cylinder here. You see the cam lobe is pointing out and out. So that is top dead center of at the end of the compression stroke on piston number 1 and cylinder number 1. And you see here, see those lobes are pointing in. So if I was to turn turn the motor over again to make that timing mark line up again, you'll see that number 4 will line up in the proper position. You see I just rotated around enough to get that timing mark in there again. And now number 4 cylinder has got the cams out. So now we can check this side. So that line inside there is only for cylinder number 1 and cylinder number 4. So when one is, if you're checking the top dead center on the compression stroke, at the end of the compression stroke for cylinder number 1, it'll line up. Then if you rotate it again and that mark comes around the second time around, then number 4 cylinder is at top dead center on the compression stroke. Hope that makes sense. Okay, so I want to start with number 1 cylinder. So I'm going to crank this back around again. So I get those cam lobes facing outwards on both the intake. This is the intake cam and this is the exhaust cam. So I want both those lobes pointing out while that timing mark is lined up in here. So I'm going to go ahead and set that now, and then we can start checking the valves. You can actually feel that we're into the compression stroke just by how much pressure it's taken on to turn this ratchet. So we know we're into the compression stroke, but the line will line up right at the end of the compression stroke. Okay, there it is. You see the line in there? How it's lining up with here and here, and there's the line in the back. So because we were at number 4 cylinder and we rotated it around, now number 1 cylinder should have the cams pointing out. And it does. That one's out and that one's out. So now we can start checking our valve clearance, because there's no, that valve, intake valve and that exhaust valve is completely closed. So we should be able to check that. There shouldn't be any pressure, any cam pressure from the lobe on the valve at all. So I made up this little sheet here. So piston 1, top dead center, compression stroke. So I can check, this is piston 1, that's piston 2, piston 3, piston 4, or cylinder 1, cylinder 2, cylinder 3, cylinder 4. So you notice nothing's on number 4. So I can check the valve clearance in cylinder number 1. I can check both intake valves and the exhaust valves. Make sure that they're in spec. So the spec is 5 thou 1/10 to 7 thou 5/10, which is 13 millimeters to 19 millimeters. So that's what we want. So the mean, which is in between, is 6 thou 3/10, or if you're looking in metric, it's 160 millimeters, or 0.160 millimeters. So that's the mean. Okay, so this is how we're going to check them. So we're going to get a feeler gauge, and we're going to check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We're going to check 8 valve clearances. We're going to write them down, the original measured clearance, and then we're going to rotate the motor to the next timing mark. So then we're going to get number 4 cylinder. So when we get that timing mark lined back up, that would mean that the cam lobes are out on number 4. We won't be checking number 1. We'll check the 2 intake valves on cylinder number 2, the 2 exhaust valves on cylinder number 3, and both intake and exhaust on number 4. If you look closely, it's an exact mirror image of number 1 cylinder. So stay with me and we'll get these valve clearances checked and recorded. So I took my feeler gauge set apart because this is a really tight area. I pulled out number 3 thou. I'm going to pull that right out, and I'm going to start with 3 thou and see how that one fits, which is 0.076 millimeter. So now I got that by itself, so I can easily manipulate it into the bike. I'm not holding the whole kit in my hand. I'll be able to just slip this in. So the tolerance is 5 thou 1/10 to 7 thou 5/10. So I'm trying 3 thou. So 3 thou should fit in there with ease. So we're going to try that first, and we'll move our way up to 5. Okay, so I'm just going to come in from this side here. And you can see that slips in there with ease, and so it should. So we can definitely go up a size for this one. Okay, so that was 3 thou. So now let's try the 4 thou. Feeling a little resistance, but you want it to drag a little bit, but you don't want it tight. I think I'm going to go one more. We'll try 5. Okay, here's my 5 thou shim. I can fit it, but it's dragging. So we're not going to get a 6 in there. So I'm going to say that this is the 5 thou, which is 0.127, which means that it's too tight. I need to put a little bit more clearance in here. So we'll record our reading, and we'll see what size shim is in there now. So I measured my shim with my mic just to make sure that it was actually 5 thou as it said. And we got our first reading down now. So the first intake valve on number 1 cylinder, 5 thou. So now we got to check the next one. Okay, so there's cam lobe 1. There's the second cam lobe. It's under here for the first cylinder. So you can see I got my feeler gauge down there already. See number 4. You see I can get it, it's coming right to the other side, and there's no resistance on there at all. Feels pretty good. So now I'm going to try number 5 or 5 thou, and we'll see how that one slides through. So you can see now why I took these apart. There's no way you'd be able to hold a set like that and try to jam it in there. Let's try number 5 and see how that fits. Okay, so I got the 5 thou shim in there now. Set. 5 thou. Feels pretty nice. Get it to go all the way through. And it's just dragging nicely. So we're going to call that 5 thou as well. So you can see down there now, I've got the a 6 thou shim, feeler gauge, I should say, and I can't get that to go. Won't go at all. So I got my 5 thou and 5 thou. So now we're going to move on to the exhaust on cylinder number 1. So as far as the exhaust goes, you can see it runs hotter on the exhaust, so they give us a little more clearance, a little more tolerance. So it's 9 thou 4/10 to 12 thou 2/10, which is 0.24 millimeter to 0.31 millimeter. So we're going to have a little bit more gap on the exhaust valve than we do on the intake valve. Okay, I double checked the valves, then I triple checked the valves. I made a few adjustments. So this is the intake. So intake 1, 2, 4, and 5. Sorry, 5 and 6. Intake 1, 2, 5, 6. I got 5 thou, 6 thou, 6 thou, 6 thou. Then on the exhaust valves, so for exhaust, valve 1, 2, 3, 4, I got 8 thou, 8 thou, 7 thou, 9 thou. So everything seems to be a bit on the tight side. So anyway, made my notes. So now what we're going to do is we're going to rotate the motor again to the next timing mark. So like I said earlier, you see how the valves or the cam lobes are pointing out. We need to do that for these guys here. These guys are in, so we need to rotate it all the way around and line up the timing marks, and then these valve cam lobes will be facing out, and then we can take the remainder measurements on the other cylinders. Okay, you can see the timing marks here. Maybe I'll pull this out so you can see it. Here we go. Timing mark there. So now we're going to rotate the motor until we get that timing mark again. And you can see it there now. I just rotated it around. So those cams should be facing out, and look, out and out. So we're at the end of the compression stroke on cylinder number 4. Okay, so just to confirm, I look down, I can see the piston down there, number 4 cylinder, top dead center. You guys may not be able to see it. Let's get a light down there for you. There you go, you can see the top of the piston right there. Top dead center on the compression stroke. Okay, so here's the second cylinder. There's 1, 2. I got my 5 thou feeler gauge in here, and you can see it slips real easy. So we're going to try a 6 thou feeler. Okay, I cleaned up all my readings. I checked it 3 times. I got my inch readings here, and I got my millimeter conversion here. So I have both, have them all recorded for every cylinder, every valve, all the clearances. So now I'm going to use this as my reference, and we'll pop the timing chain tensioner off, which should be right there. So we'll pull that out, take the pressure off the cam chain, and then we're going to take off these rocker covers. There's a sequence for taking these off, and it's a 2-part sequence. You have to crack them all first, starting on the inside, working your way out, and then spin them off all the way. Same with going on. There's a torque spec. There's two torque specs. One for tightening it down. You go about halfway, and then you set the torque up a little bit higher to spec, and torque it in a certain pattern. We'll get into that in a minute. We'll have to take this guard off for the cam chain, and then we're going to remove the cams and see what kind of shims are under the buckets of each where each valve is, and we'll take a reading of that. Okay, so here's the cam chain tensioner. I'm going to try to get in on it with a wrench because the ratchet won't quite enough clearance. Let's see if I can crack this. Oh, not so bad. This is actually what I think was causing the rattling noise. Now that I checked all the valves and they're all tight, they're out of spec, but they're out of spec on the tight side because they hadn't been adjusted before, and they should have been. So it's actually good, not good to have tight valves like that. The engine will start to overheat. So I'm pulling this cap off. Take the spring out. And the rod. Set that down so I don't lose it. Now I can take off these other two bolts and pull that off. So that bolt was a 12 millimeter, and these ones here are 8 millimeter. So the wiring harness, you can just kind of lift it up out of the way like that. We'll crack them both first. Make sure I get on there good. One. And there's a rat hose there. You have to take this all the way out so we can reset the adjuster. Bolts are off. Sometimes these can be a bit of a bitch to get out. I might have to pry it a little bit. And there's a little O-ring there. There it is. There's your O-ring. That's your tensioner right there. You can see how this adjusts. You can reset it like that. That's what I think needed to be adjusted. Okay, so here's the sequence to remove 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we're going to do these all in half turns. Loosen them all off a little bit first and then remove them. Make sure you're in all the way. Okay, so now they're all completely loose. So now I'm just going to pull out all the bolts. I'm going to lay them down so they're in the exact same order when I put them back in. So I'll just quickly do that. Okay, I'm just removing the final bolt here. This one is for this timing chain cover. And then our rockers, I got them all out, so it's just a matter of lifting that off. So I'm just going to finish taking this bolt out, and then we'll be able to get that cover off, or a guard. So there it is. So we'll put that right here, like that. And that was that bolt there, so they're all in order. You can see it's kind of a Teflon or nylon piece there that comes into can come into contact with the chain if it gets too loose, but doesn't seem to be any wear marks on it. That's good. Okay, so these should come off fairly easy. See underneath there's a couple of O-rings. And there's your cams. Just make sure when you pull these off that these pieces are staying down in there, because they can easily come out. You want those falling down inside. So I'm setting that down here exactly the way it was in the motor. Rights are for right, and the other one will have an L on it for left. So this guy was giving me a little trouble, so I'm putting the the valve cover bolts back in, so I'll have something to lift up with, so I can pull this off. It's really stubborn. There we go. There's nothing to lift by. There it is. Put that right there like that. I just removed those bolts, and we'll give this a good clean up, and we're going to give this a really close inspection, make sure everything's good before we put it back together. Okay, so I marked the sprocket to the chain on both sides, both cams. So when I go to put the chain back on, I'll know exactly where to line it up. And I'm just going to tie this chain off, because I don't want it falling down inside the engine when we take it off, because that would be bad. There we go. So now the chain can't fall down inside the crankcase. So now we're going to pull off this cover. Hopefully this one won't give me as much trouble as the other side did. And it's not. That's good. Carefully lift it up, making sure that these stay down. You can see an O-ring here getting ready to fall off. We'll set that down. And next we will remove these cams. We'll take the exhaust one off first. Exhaust cam. So just lift the chain up out of the way and gently take the intake cam out. There it is. So we have everything in order here. Here's our exhaust cam, our intake cam, and our journals. The guard for the chain case. Everything in order and in proper position. So here's your lifters, your buckets. So underneath those buckets are going to be our shims. So it's a good idea, make sure that all these little dowels are present. It almost looks like there's one missing there, but that's actually a threaded hole. So not to worry. Okay, so to remove these lifters, the easy way to do it is just take a magnet, get on there, and pull it up like so. And it should take the shim and all. Presto. So I just put the shim back in just so you could see what it looks like. It was resting on that. And then these lifters just fit over like that. Okay, so I redid my sheet and I put in yellow all the ones that I'm actually going to adjust, and these are the ones that I'm actually going to just leave alone. They're well within spec, right in the middle of the tolerance, so I'm just going to leave those alone. But I'm still going to record the value of the original shims. So now that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to remove the shims and I'm going to look what's written on them, and I'm actually going to mic them out just to make sure that they are what they say they are, and record them all in here, and then we'll start doing the calculations for the new shims. So I'm just going to start with intake number 1 and start from there and work my way through. Okay, so I'll pull off my cloth. I didn't want any dirt or debris getting in there overnight. And we're going to start with intake number 1, and we're going to do all the intakes, measure all the shims, and then we're going to start with the exhaust and measure all the exhaust ones. All right, so I got my magnets ready. Start with number 1, like I said. They're right in the center, so it picks up the valve shim as well. And we'll just gently wiggle it loose, and then up it comes. There it is. So we'll pop that out of there and we will take a measurement. So I got my hot cams kit here. It came with this nice magnifying glass for reading my shims. And these shims that were in there are a little bit worn. You can see the marks on them from the valves being too tight. But we're getting 1.88. I measured them out, mic'd them out, and that's what we're getting for millimeters. So I'm going to record those. I've got valve number 1 here and valve number 2 here. These are the buckets for them with the shims. So I'm going to record those numbers down, and then we'll do the calculation to lighten these up a little bit. So I found one that you can actually read, 188. So I'm making sure that I mic every single one just to make sure. Okay, I got all the lifters out and they're all in order. And I measured all of the shims that were the originals, and I have them all recorded. So now to calculate the size of the shims I'm going to need to take up that tolerance where it's out of spec. So before I do those calculations for the shims, I'm going to just check our cam lobes and make sure that they are in spec. So I'm going to check the intake first, and it's supposed to be 1 inch 360 thou to 1 inch 364 thou and 4/10. So that's the size it's supposed to be, and the maximum is 1 inch 356. So I mic'd out all the cam lobes, and here's the spec again: 1 inch 360 to 1 inch 3644. So I'm getting 1 inch 359 to 1 inch 360. So I'm right at the bottom of the tolerance. So the cam is no longer big. It's starting to get smaller as it wears out. But the service limit is 1 inch 356. So I still have probably another 3 to 4 thou of tolerance left before the cam is no good. Now I am looking at this cam and I'm seeing some rubbing marks. Right in here, but I can't feel it with my finger. So it's not like a burr. I think we're going to be okay. You can see right there. I'm not feeling it, so that's good. But the cam, I think because the valve interval was too late, it was running with tight valves for too long of a period of time. And as you can see on a lot of the shims, they're starting to wear a little bit. And the cam is showing some signs of wear, but nothing serious. We'll check the exhaust one. That one might be a little bit worse. We'll see. Okay, so just to recap where we're at. This is the exhaust cam right here. This is the intake cam. So these are our lifters, and they're all in order as I took them out of the bike. Inside here is a shim. Each one has a shim. So the way this works is the cam, I'm going to put this on a tripod so you can see this better. So the cam is going to be like this, and this lifter goes over the valve springs and the valve, and that little shim will make this go up or down depending on how big it is. So if it's a big shim, it's going to take up that space. So what we had to do is we had to put a feeler gauge in between the cam lobe here and that lifter. And when the cam lobe is at top dead center, or sorry, the piston's at top dead center on the compression stroke, that's what the spec is. So we put the feeler gauge in, we take a reading. So what was happening with my readings, it was too tight, meaning that this was too close to the cam. Okay, so it was too tight. So what I need to do, it was out of spec. So you take all those readings before you take the cams out, and you mark them all down like I did here. So if they're okay, I put them in yellow, and they're good. If they need to be changed, then what you have to do then is you have to do this calculation. So you take the spec, and it's got a tolerance. Okay, so you want the space to be right in the middle of the tolerance. So you take your original shim thickness, which is in there, it's written on there, plus you mic it. You take that and you add it to the original measured valve clearance. So that feeler gauge that you put in between the cam lobe and the lifter. So you add those two together, okay? Then you subtract the mean. So on the exhaust side, it's 0.275, which is, so you subtract that, and then that gives you the size of the shim that you should use, which will keep it in the center of the tolerance. So I did all that. So now I have it all charted out. I've got my original measured clearance, and I got if it's in blue, I'm just going to leave it alone. It's in spec. If it's yellow, that means that I'm going to change it. Okay. So on this intake, for example, this one here, I said it adjusts because I got 0.127 millimeters. So I'm going to adjust it. So I'm going to put in the calculation says I should put a 1.847 millimeter shim in there. There is no 1.847 millimeter shim. So the closest one is 1.850. So that's the shim that I'm going to be putting in, which should keep it right in the dead center of the tolerance. So I'm going to go ahead now and I'm going to change all the shims that need to be changed, and it'll keep it all within spec. So as mentioned earlier, I measured these lobes on the both cams, and they're a little bit worn on both because things were too tight. So they are still within the serviceable limit. We're just at the bottom end of the tolerance, but they're going to be okay. I had to actually order some new, some more shims. Believe it or not, this kit, although it has quite a few, it didn't quite have everything I needed, so I had to order some more shims. So that happens. So bear with me, and we'll get these shims all put back in the proper sizes, and get this back together. So you'll see here the measured with the feeler gauge, the measured distance was 0.127 millimeters. Okay, the tolerance is 0.13 millimeters to 0.19. So 0.127 is lower than 0.13. So that means that there was it was too tight. So I need to change the shim. So I did the calculation, and it came out to 1.847 millimeters is the size of the shim that I should put in there. So the closest one we have is 1.850 millimeters. So when I put that size shim in, that will adjust this a little bit and make it not as tight. Okay, so this is intake number 1. I removed the shim, the worn one, and I'm going to replace it with this one here. So my it's going to be 1.850. You may not be able to see that. Oh, there you go, 1.85. So that's going to be the new one I'm going to be putting in. Okay, so we'll uncover this. Intake valve number 1 is this one here. So we're going to put that shim right down in that hole right there. So first, I'm going to put a little drop of oil just on top of that. There we go. Now I usually take the marked side and put it towards the lifter, like so. There we go. Now we can put that bucket down. I'm gonna put another little drip of oil just on top, like so. There we go. Now we take the same bucket that was in there before, or lifter. There we go. That's one. So now we'll repeat that with the rest of them. Okay, so I got all the intake lifters all back in with all the proper shims now. So now I'm going to work on the exhaust ones now, which are up there. So I like to give a little dab of oil just around the bucket, both sides. Whoops. You might get a little puff of oil when you first fire up the bike, but I think the extra lubrication is good on startup. It's not going to hurt it. Okay, I'm doing exhaust number 2 now. exhaust valve number 2, little dab of oil. So I've mic'd out these shims to make sure that they are the size that they say they are. I'm putting the numbers up. So this is 1.750. So it's a smaller shim that was in there before, so that I can drop the clearance down a wee bit because it was super, super tight. Make sure you don't force these. Just gently play with it until it seats nicely like that. Then we move on to the next one. So I'm at exhaust number 6 now. So I just look at my paper. Exhaust 6, 1.750. So open up here, 1.750 right there. So pull that one out. Pull out the old shim. And we'll go put that into the bike. Before we do, make sure it's 1.750. So now I'm going to mic it out. So number 6 will go right in there. We'll drop oil in there and get it shim in, bucket on top. And there it is. 2 to go. Okay, there we go. All the lifters back in with all the proper shims. So now we'll put the cams in with the new seals. So I'm going to start by removing this old gasket, because I do have a brand new gasket for it. And you'll notice that when I go to take this off, there's some spots where it goes around these radiuses. We may need to put a little bit of liquid gasket in there just to let it seat a little bit, let it dry, and then put the valve cover back on. Okay, so I lifted the gasket up, and this is what I mean right in here. That's where we'll put some gasket sealant. I don't like the way that gasket is like that. Not sure what would have caused that. Like it wasn't seated properly. But the bike wasn't leaking oil. I'll just have to make sure that I put the new one in properly. But that's really distorted. You can see pieces of gasket stuck on. I'm gonna have to make sure that I get all that off. It goes all the way around. So we'll have to gently take all that off because we want a nice seal. Okay, so here's the new valve, or the old valve cover gasket. See how nice and round it is on this side. And then on this side, it's really kind of marred over, and a flat spot on it. I had a little bit of a concern, but then I got my brand new gasket. You look here, nice and round, but the sides here are also got that little flat spot right there. Look how well you can see it in the plastic bag. See how it's flat? So it is supposed to be like that. Interesting. And these are genuine parts from Kawasaki, right from Japan. There, I just took it out of the bag. You can see it a little bit easier here. It's got like a little flat spot there, both sides. Little plastic scraper works well at getting some of that gasket off. See, it just comes right off. I'm not damaging the cylinder head. You can see on this side too, that rubber gasket right down inside. I got to get all that off. A lot of peeling. Okay, so I got all the gasket off, scraped all off, and then I went around it with this clean rag and gave it a really good wipe all the way around, making sure I get every little surface. Now that I got that clean, I'm going to take a little bit of alcohol, put on here, and clean it again. It's really important for this there to be no excess gasket on there. And make sure that you don't get, there was no gasket that flew off and went on any of these surfaces here. Okay, I got all the surfaces completely wiped down with alcohol, all clean and ready for the gasket. Okay, so if this is going to leak, it's going to leak in these little corner radiuses right here. So make sure you put some RTV down inside the corners here. And there we go, we got the new gasket down. A little bit of squeeze out here, that's fine. I wiped it out a little bit. I'll wipe out a little bit more before it dries. Same with here. It's looking good. Okay, I just dropped one cam in. I got it lined up with the chain where I had it. Now we'll drop the other one in. The timing chain is being held now by the sprocket, so I can cut this tie wrap off. Okay, so we're getting ready to put these over the top of the cams. So before I do, I'm just going to put a little drip of oil just on all the little cam lobes and where it seats. It's important to note I got my rubber seals in here, my little O-rings, and there's 2 more O-rings on the underneath of the journal. Okay, so I just set that in place, and then I'm just going to just gently by hand screw these down, because there is going to be a sequence for tightening this up. There, I just got the other side hand tight, and now we'll put the other piece on right here. And there we go, we've got this little guard in place. Now we're going to start torquing it down. Okay, so here's the sequence to seat the camshaft. Just going to go hand tight. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Just hand tight. So basically starting at the outside and working our way in, because the camshafts have to be seated in place. To save weight, they make these journals really thin aluminum, so that a lot of distortion can happen. So you really got to abide by this and do this torquing sequence in proper sequence. So go through this once. I've already gone through it once. I'm going through it a second time now to snug it up a bit more before I pull out the torque wrench. So that's number 1. Number 2 is down here. Number 3 is up here. Number 4 is down here. Number 5's up here. Okay, so 52 inch-pounds for the first torque, and then the final torque, 106 inch-pounds. So you got her dialed in, 52 inch-pounds. Hopefully we'll be able to fit in here with this torque wrench. It's a little big, but I think we can get it. Start with number 1. Make sure she's firmly seated. Okay, so I got everything torqued down to 52 inch-pounds for the first torque. Now we're doing the final torque of 106 inch-pounds. So we got 106 dialed in, and we're going to start doing the same sequence that we did last time, starting with number 1 and working our way up to 20. Okay, so now we got all that torqued down. Next up, we're going to take their feeler gauges and we're going to start to check the clearance with the new shims in here now. Okay, so we didn't move it, so we're still on cylinder 2 and 4 with the 4th piston at top dead center on the compression stroke. So the reading before was 7th thou. We didn't do anything. When that one's blue, it should be good to go. And I just put our 7th thou shim in there, and it fits in there quite nicely, as it should. I'm going to check them all and make sure they're all still in spec. So intake number 4, 6.5 thou. So there's 1, 2, 3, there's 4. So we'll try our 6th thou, and that should be loose, which will be 6.5 thou. Same as it was before, fairly loose, so it's 6.5 thou. The 7 does not go, which tells me that that's 6.5 thou. So things are looking real good. Very nice. So these are the ones that we adjusted. So we're right in the middle of the tolerance. The mean is 10.08. So we're right on the money. Okay, so now we're going to rotate the motor over and work on cylinder number 1. Put it at top dead center on the compression stroke, and then check all these ones that we adjusted. But we're looking real good. Okay, so before we turn the motor over, we're going to reset this timing chain tensioner. Okay, so I've just reset this. So I'm going to put this in, the spring in, so it's just starting to push that out. And then I'm going to take the spring out and then put that in. See how it just kind of clicked there? That's how far I'm going to put it. And then when I bolt it on and start screwing it in, it'll push that into the chain tension. Okay, so I got this set in all the way, and when I put the spring in there, it'll spring load it into place. So it's tricky to get in. There we go. I got that in there, snugged up. Now we put this spring in and then tighten it down. Okay, there we go. We got that in place. Now it's just a matter of putting this in, and as that starts to feed in, it's going to put a little bit more tension on that chain. You'll probably hear it click when it starts to ratchet out. There, I just cranked it around. So I got number 1 piston at top dead center on the compression stroke. Now you see that line in there lining up. So now I can check the other valves, see what the clearance is like. So we did make an adjustment on intake number 1. It was 5 thou. We put a 1.850 millimeter shim in. So let's see if we loosen that up a little bit. I'm going to try my 5 thou feeler gauge. Okay, so intake number 1, that's this one here. Now this 5 thou feeler gauge should fit in here no problem. And it does. That's what we wanted. We wanted to loosen that up a little bit, and we did. So let's try a 6. Ideally, we want the 6 to go and still feel a little bit of play, and the 7 not to go. Even if the 7 goes, it's still within spec, but we're trying for that 6.5 thou. 6 goes, no problem. Let's try 7. Well, I am very happy with that. See the 5 thou? That was too tight, so I needed to have more space. So now I can fit a 7 thou shim in there, where before I could only fit a 5. So now I got more space. So that's good. So the mean is 6 thou 3/10. So that's really good. 6.5, 6.5, 6.5. That's all good. On the exhaust, the mean is 10.8. We got 10, 10, 10.5, 11. 11 is still within tolerance because we can go up to 12.2, 12 thou 2/10. So everything is almost right in the middle, which is where I like it. Everything is now in spec. Really happy with that. It's a big job. So now it's a matter of putting the new seals in the valve cover. I'm going to clean up the valve cover. As you remember, it was a little dirty. It had some dirt in here. So I'm going to clean that up a little bit. Put the new seals in. I got the nice new gasket here. So we'll get that put on, torqued down. We'll turn the motor over a few more times. Got some nice brand new spark plugs to put in there. And we'll start getting this baby back together. Next up is to put this valve cover back on. I'm going to pull off these old seals. They're really cooked on there. Get those off. I got some brand new ones to go on. And we're going to clean out these little ports. Okay, while I got that valve cover soaking, getting cleaned up, I'm going to pull off these reed valves and give those a clean up. Okay, I just pulled these off and they look pretty dirty. So we'll get all that cleaned up. Yeah, that's pretty dirty. Okay, I got those parts in the ultrasonic tank. Looks like lots of dirt coming out of them. See how they're doing. Got these all cleaned up. Lots of carbon inside them. So they're nice and clean now. Got some new gaskets. Genuine Kawasaki from Japan. Valve cover all cleaned up. All this cleaned out. Cleaned up on inside and out. So now those rubber seals are going to go in here. So these rubber seals, a little easier to put them on here. Like so. Brand new. There we go. ready for the valve cover gasket, or valve cover. Nice clean valve cover. Absolutely no dirt in it whatsoever. We'll lay that baby down inside. There it is, the valve cover is down. So now we got some little gaskets to go on here and torque the cover down. Okay, so we got these new seals. You can see how there's a bigger diameter on this side than that side. So that goes down like this. And they just drop into place like that. Pretty easy. 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now we'll grab the bolts and we'll start torquing down this valve cover. Okay, so here's our bolts. We'll just start all these off by hand. Okay, I got them all started by hand. But before we start torquing this down, it's best to take a peek underneath here and just make sure that the valve cover is in fact not causing the gasket to distort or anything. So you can see the silicone that I put in there, the RTV, which is good. A little bit of squeeze out is good. And you can see it's not distorted or anything. So it's good to have a good look and check both sides. Yeah, looks good. So you're looking for this this rubber right here to see if it's distorting or rolling or anything like that. And we're also looking for a nice even seal along here for the valve cover itself. Looks like it's coming down good. That's what we want. Okay, so this has to be torqued down to 87 inch-pounds, and the sequence is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then back to 7. So we'll just snug up by hand a bit more. 87 inch-pounds is not a lot. Three, 4, 5, 6, and then back to 7. Okay, so I'll get my torque wrench out and we'll set it at 87 inch-pounds and finish torquing it down. So there's 87. Torque wrench. I'm going to need to do this with 2 hands, but you get the idea. And I want to make sure that that's seated down really, really good. Okay, so I'm far away from 87, so I'm going to do the sequence on all of them. And I'll get back to you in a minute. Okay, so I just went through the sequence again, getting them a little bit closer to the 87 inch-pound mark. And now we'll start with number 1 again. Feeling some resistance there. And that's 87. Getting tighter. And now, listen for the click. 87. And so on and so forth. Okay, so I got them all torqued down. It's always good when you have a torque wrench like this to release the pressure before you put it away. Keep the tension off the spring inside it. Tool will last longer and be calibrated for a long time. These inch-pound torque wrenches are really good for doing fine adjustments on stuff like this. It's not so great to do it by hand. It's just a thin aluminum, and you want to make sure you get the proper spec so it won't leak. Okay, now that you got that torque down to spec, have a look underneath here again and make sure that that gasket is, or the valve cover is sitting down nice on that gasket. Have a good look. I know you can't see too well on camera here, but just make sure that it's all nice and flush and not bulging out on one side. That RTV, by the way, I didn't torque that down while it was still wet. I let it dry overnight, and then I torqued it down. Okay, I got these reed valves all nicely cleaned up. They just go on like that. Nice and clean. And we'll get these babies put on. So the way these go on is that faces like this. That goes in there like that. And that goes down like that. Two of them. So I got them temporarily placed there. I don't have the bolts in yet because I got to take this piece and flip it over like this and hook up those hose lines to it. You can see a little dimple right here, and you see the dimple right there. So those have got to go together like that. Just like that. Same with this side, dimple here, and there's a dimple there. There, so I got them both on. So before I tighten that down, it'll be easier for me to put these spark plugs in when I can just lift this out of the way. So I'm going to do that now and put the new spark plugs in. Okay, we got our brand new NGK plugs ready to install. This is a nice tool here. You can drop it right down into the cylinder head and then get on this with a ratchet, 17 millimeter. And it grips the spark plug so you won't drop it. Let's start with number one. Just put her in there like that. And we'll tighten her down. And we'll do that for all four. Okay, I got my torque wrench here with my adapter on here. It's a 17 millimeter socket, and that will grab your spark plugs. Actually holds on to them great, so when you go in, a spark plug won't fall out, so it's a really handy tool to have. Just take that off there for a second. So this is a foot-pound torque wrench. So the spec calls for 115 inch-pounds, which is about 9.5 foot-pounds. So I just got to set this here. I'm almost, just got to turn it a wee bit more. I'm at 8. Can't really do it with one hand. There we go. There's 8, there's 9, there's 9.5 foot-pounds. So we'll get that on there and we'll get these spark plugs torqued down. There we go. All right, 4 new spark plugs, NGK in, torqued down. Now, that's sitting flush, that's sitting flush. Those are your reed valves. And they move good. Good. So next, we take this, lay that down. Now we got to get these coils in. Push down those till you hear it click. There we go. That's one. I gotta do all 4. So I'm doing them in the order that they came out. So that'll be the next one. Remove the old spark plug. And we'll put that one down in there. So obviously better to put those in before the reed valve covers. Just makes it go in a little bit better. There we go, that's 2. Okay, so I got all 4 in place. Might as well hook up the ignition wires. You'll hear a snap, click, click, click. This one here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and just put it in place to see how everything fits. And it looks like this will fit better if I just put a little turn on that. That should line up a little better, like so. Don't want to put any stress on anything. Good, now we'll bolt this down. Get these torqued down. Okay, I got those all torqued down. Now I'm going to run that clutch cable back up through here before I put that radiator guard back up. There was a screw holding that radiator guard back here, and there was a couple of pins where it pops into place up here. So right now I can push on it a little bit, so I may need that little bit of play for the throttle or for the clutch cable. We'll see. Okay, so I'm working the clutch cable up, and I'm starting to see it right there, coming up beside that other line. There we go. Okay, so I got the clutch line fed back up through here. We'll bring it around and hook it back on here. And while we're here, this hose here needs to go on there. So the clip would have fallen down. Let's see here. Follow this back to here. So we'll just run that back up. Like so. Just a rubber hose, goes on pretty easy. And then we'll clip this back on. Might need my pliers for that. There we go. That's going to go to the bottom of the airbox. And it looks like we're really rocking here. Almost ready to put the bottom of the airbox back on. I'm going to hook up that clutch cable first in case I run into some problems. I don't want to have to take the airbox back off, but it's looking pretty good. Okay, so here's the clutch line here. I'm going to just hook it up in here. But before I do, I'm going to stand it up like this, and I'm going to dribble a little bit of oil down inside there just to help lubricate it a bit. Okay, so this is silicone lubricant. I'm just going to spray it down in here. Work that cable in a little bit. There we go. Okay, so I'm probably not going to be able to do this with one hand. But you can see here, that's where there's a hole here. And that's where that's got to go. I'll be impressed if I could do this with one hand. Just up like that. And then line that up and in like that. And look at that, I did it. Nice. And then to adjust it, you just back that off. But we'll leave it loose because I still got to connect it down here on the other side. We still got to tie it in there, and then we'll adjust it. Now that is not going to go with one hand. And there we go. See a little rust spot there. I'm going to put a little bit of oil on that too. Make sure we got these snug back down. There we go. And this is nice and tight. Looking good. Okay, so that's at the loosest setting right now, so obviously you see all that play. We're gonna have to take that play out. Just a matter of turning this. See, it's already taken that play out. We'll try that. Maybe another turn. There we go. Yeah, that feels better. Nice. Okay, we got this clutch adjuster on. So next we're going to put this little clip on here. I always make sure that that slot is at the back, not at the front. So we'll get a screwdriver and we'll just tighten that down. There we go, we got that screwed down. So now it's putting pressure on this, so it makes it really difficult to turn. It's nice and stiff. Still works great. But to try that once we start riding, see if we have to fine tune it a bit, but it's feeling pretty good there right now. Next up is the little radiator guard. Let's see if I can show you right down. Down here, there's like pins that go into these holes. See right there? I need to pop that back into place. There, I got those two pieces snapped into place right there. Now there's a screw on the other side. We got to make sure we put that in, and then that holds that. It's like a shield, kind of keeps wind from coming up and in there. And it's right behind the radiator. Okay, so next up we got this little screw here. It's got to go right there. That's that radiator guard I was telling you about. There's the radiator there, the rad. And this is just a little shield in front of it. So I just got to screw that in there. Just get that in there nice and tight. There we go. Now we can lower the bike and start working on the airbox. Okay, so next up is the bottom part of the airbox. We need to put this on. And what I just did is I squirted a little bit of oil where these bolts go into the nuts, make it easy to come off again. And I'll put just a dab of oil around those boots just to make them slip over the throttle bodies a little better. And we're going to hook up that hose to this spigot right here. All right, so it's just a matter of lifting it into place carefully. And we got to get these lined up really, really good. And then once we get them all lined up, we'll press it down into place and screw those hose clamps down. So take a look along here and run your finger just to make sure that's sitting down nice and flush. And on both sides. I did this earlier and this one wasn't quite sitting flush. So I had to make sure that it was pushed down, seated. You want to make sure that that's seated right down in place before you start screwing those hose clamps down. So once you got that pushed flush, keep pressure down while you're screwing those hose clamps. So that's this one here is going to screw down both of these, and the one on this side is going to screw down both of those. Okay, so I got those tightened down nice. So now put this bolt in here, and that just clips these throttle cables in place. And I also got my U-tune for my rapid bike system running through there as well. The clutch cable can just sit there like that. There we go, we got that down out of the way. Now we can lift the top part of the airbox, roll it over, and then once we get that done, we can hook up these lines here, these two hoses. Just screw down, and there's an electrical piece connector that goes right there. That's got to get pinched down in here before we screw the airbox down. Okay, so I got those snapped in place. There we go. I usually start by screwing the middle one down first, which I just did, and now I'm going to put in all the screws all the way around. Okay, top of the airbox is down, screwed down nicely. Now we've got to put this hose on, we'll get that in place, and then we'll get the hose clamp put in place as well. Here we go, we got that one on, and there's a little spout here. I know there's a hose hiding down here somewhere. Come out wherever you are. There you are. That is going to go on there. And we got to clamp that in place as well. Like so. There we go. Now I can get the fuel tank, put it on, and I'll have it up like this, and then we'll attach the fuel line and the fuel pump. Okay, next step, we're going to get the fuel tank on. So we'll just remove this bolt here. Oh, I got a little buddy here. Hey, Phoenix. How you doing, girl? How you doing? Okay, so we'll get the fuel tank on. I got the fuel line in this plastic baggie so it wouldn't leak, and we'll get the fuel pump hooked up. So let's get at her. Okay, so we got the fuel tank just propped up there. I got the bolt started. It's just a 10mm bolt. Get that snugged into place, and now we can work on hooking up the fuel lines. Okay, we got the fuel tank in place, just propped up. Now I'm going to take this here, which is the electronic fuel pump. We've got to hook it to there, so we're going to have to run this underneath and snap it in there. So not an easy task. There it is. There we go. Okay, so that's snapped into place. They're locked down. Now it's just to hook up the fuel line. Now we got the fuel line, the bag taken off the fuel line. And there it is there. It's like a quick release. Put that on and push that in place like so. Now we got to get that little red snap and snap it. It's like a little lock. Okay, you see how there's little fingers here? It's gonna have to go like this, from the bottom up. Let's set that down for a second. If you see in there, you can see the little track at the back. That's where those little tabs go. So we need to fit that in there like that. Definitely not going to be able to do this with one hand, so give me a second. Okay, so take it like this. Get it on there like that. And then while you're putting pressure this way, push that up. Make sure that those two little tabs are like that at the top. So if you pull on this line, it shouldn't come off now. So that's good, she's in place. So now I'm going to turn the key and see if she'll prime and start, and we'll see what these valves sound like. Okay, so we can plug these back up. And we'll tighten those down. And we just tighten these up with a flat screwdriver, common. There we go. Can hear it priming up. Starter on. Okay, the timing chain sounds like it's a little loose, so I'm going to have to readjust it. Okay, so we're just going to take this out, and then we're going to unlock the housing and reset the timing chain. All right, so we got all the bolts out. See, that's too loose. It didn't go all the way in. Need to reset it and put it back in. Just wasn't keeping tension on the chain. That's what that rattling noise was. So you need to push it all the way in like that. And then now it won't come out. So you got to press this to release it. So it's pushed in all the way. Now you got to release it. You'll hear it click. So then when you start screwing in this bolt here with the spring, it'll start to let it feed out like that. And it won't come back in. See how it's locked? There, so now I know it's set. So when I put the pin in, it'll push that out and keep tension on that the timing chain. Okay, so I get that reset back in place. The bolt's back on. Now I can take that pin and spring, put it in, and that'll start pushing the adjuster in place. Okay, I've installed this and adjusted it now a few times, and I'm still getting some rattling. So I'm gonna go about doing another little way of doing this. Sometimes these, maybe the spring inside gets a little bit weak, and when it contacts the little, this is the tensioner, when this contacts the little blade that's in there that puts pressure on the chain, sometimes there's not enough pressure to make it go click out like that and push it in. So what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to install it again, and this time when this thing's in, this thing doesn't have the ability to push it any harder, so it's not coming back. See, it's locked, so this is working. The clicks are working. It's just that it's not quite strong enough. So I'm going to bolt it down, and then I'm going to tighten this down all the way, and then loosen these screws off so that this comes out a little bit, and then I'm going to hear this thing pop out because there's going to be back pressure on it. It's going to go click because it's got pressure on both sides. And once that happens, then that's allowing me to put the extra pressure I need on the timing chain. So we'll give that a try, and hopefully that'll be a fix for us. So to install it, that little leg has got to go up, that little foot. Past the hose, and in she goes. The spring I think is a little weak, so it's not doing what it's supposed to be doing. So see, as I'm tightening this down, now that rod is supposed to be pushing that little tensioner out on that little ratchet section. So we're going to tighten this down as tight as we can. That's going to push it all the way out, putting as much tension as it can on the timing chain. That's the way it's supposed to work. So we'll snug that up. There, nice and tight. So that's as much tension as that little tensioner can put on there. Now we'll start up the bike, and I'll let you listen to this thing rattle. It shouldn't rattle at all, but have a listen. Clearly way too loose. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna loosen these off. We're gonna leave that tight. So as we loosen these off, we're gonna listen for the next click on the tensioner to push in, and then we'll tighten these back down, because the tensioner can't come back this way because the ratchet is working. It's just not putting enough pressure. So we'll loosen these off until we hear a click, and then we'll tighten them back up, and hopefully that'll do the trick. Okay, so I got the bottom one loosened right off, and now I'm gonna start gently loosening the top one off and listening for that click. I'm not using a ratchet because I don't want to hear the ratchet clicking. I want to hear this. Okay, I'm turning by hand now. There, click. We'll tighten her down again. Okay, there we go. We tightened her down again. Now, see if this did the trick. Well, that definitely sounds a lot better. I'm actually wondering if I should go one more click, or if I just ride it for a little bit and see what it sounds like, and see if because I can always give it another click, but it's difficult to back it off. So I'm gonna have another listen. That sounds a lot better. I think we'll leave it there for a bit. Coming up the operating temperature here now in a few minutes. And it's sounding a lot better. I think we'll leave it there. That sounds really good. So now we'll check for leaks and get the bike back together, but that's it. Thanks for watching. All right, so just take a little look underneath here for leaks. My silicone's all nice on both sides. No drips underneath. Yeah, she looked really good. No leaks anywhere. It sounds good. All right, so we'll get this baby back together. Well, thank you everybody for watching. I know this is a bit of a long video, but we did quite a bit on this bike. Appreciate everybody sticking around. And please like and subscribe. It really helps me grow my channel. I really appreciate it. Thanks for watching.